Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hero News. Kia ora, Magenta. How are you
Kia ora.
doing?
Oh, I'm fucking cold, to be honest. Good,
Are ya?
but cold. Yes, it's been so chilly this weekend.
People may be looking and be aware that Chewie has a lesser beard tonight.
Yes.
Chewie's back from his time away, his break, and as often happens, you come back from a bit of a break away and you're full of the flu. So Chewie said it's a choice tonight of me coughing through it, and I was like, dude, you just take care of yourself. That's all that really matters.
Absolutely.
So I'm Chewie will get better. He may be back tomorrow night. He may be back later in the week. Who knows? But first and foremost is that Chewie gets well, and he will be back with us when he can be back with us. So, Magenta, often me and Chewie have a bit of a catch-up with what's been going on the weekend. Anything exciting happening? You're in your neck of the woods? Anything going on?
Oh, well, I mean, there's been a little bit on this weekend. Although I think I've seen it in the comments already. Some people might have seen me on the news.
Okay. What was that for? You should have told me. We would have queued something up.
Well, I wasn't actually expecting it, so I was volunteering for the Greens this weekend. Obviously, they had their AGM, and so not only did I get to hang out with Tori on a Friday night,
Nice.
I then ended up attending Sunday's AGM. So there was some shots of me in the crowd, and people had managed to spot me there. So I got to meet quite a few BHNers. It was really cool.
Maybe we should. And we've done, this has kind of just come out of nowhere, this new moving colouring in the background. That Emily started off with doing the pink one, and we kind of went, oh, well, let's do a blue one. But maybe because it's not me and Chewie, and it's not you and Emily, maybe we need a third one, and maybe it would be appropriate today to do this one. How about that?
Oh, I mean, you know, I like green, so
yeah, it works with you here.
yeah.
All right, yeah. We went to a surprise birthday party on Saturday night, which turned into a surprise "Will you marry me" party, which was kind of cool. That was good fun. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so
How
a whole
lovely.
bunch, about 80 people together, and got to see the thing, and yes was the answer, which is the appropriate answer and the nice answer for when that happens. So it was very, very good. The other thing I did all through the weekend was I packaged up a shit ton of merch, and got to the post shop today and sent a whole bunch of it out. Actually, we need to talk to you because you need something as well, eh? Do you want a pink? Do you want a pink BHN? What are you hankering for?
It is technically hot magenta. Just saying.
Okay.
I am a printing color. I wouldn't say no to some hot magenta.
We'll talk about. No one would say no to some hot magenta. I mean, what
Exactly.
Let's talk about it after the show, but that's also fine because this all started off with the lovely Emily. People know the story. That we have a system that we cut vinyl and we press it, and even though we've had it for several months, we hadn't been given the lesson, just to do the vinyl. We've been printing and pressing, but this is the difference. And I had the system. I had a test run of pink vinyl, and we did it, and then we thought, we better test it and put it on a hoodie, and we put it on a hoodie, and we were like, that pops. Pops. So then we went to the patrons and said, what do you reckon, people? We've got a limited run of this hot pink vinyl. Shall we put it up? And overwhelmingly they said, yes please, yes please, yes please, put it up. So we put it up on the store. It's on the store now. Let me just say this. We still have some pink left, but we've cut all of the pink merch. There might be about 20 logos left. So that's going to be the end of it, certainly for now. Will there be another season? I don't know. Maybe bring this back during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It could be a very cool one for that. But as far as we know right now, we have no plans of getting any more pink. So if you want to get some of this hot pink merch, then it's still available technically tonight. It may not be by the end of the week. Also, just so you know, we've got all the other merch at the old price. You see there's a slightly different price for the new hoodies. They're 110. The old ones are 100. And that's because our supplier has put the price up. But I've still got quite a bit of merch left over that I've bought previously. So we're doing a special till the end of this week. It's all the old merch. Old merch. It's not old. The not new merch. The previous stuff, including everyone's favourite, the Fui Choo Choo or the Chewie Fufu. We're going to keep that at the old price until the end of this week, and then we will have to be increasing it to the new price because we've had an increase from the suppliers. And of course, we have the new 4 hosts t-shirts and hoodies. There you go, and even the green here is they're magenta,
right?
So they're all available as well. So the word I'm giving you is if you're a fan of the hot pink, you should get in now. We have no plans on bringing it back. Now, that may change in the future. We might decide to do a special run or something. But as of today, the honest answer is once that pink is gone, it's gone. But the cool thing means also that means we get to bring back our OG red because we've got the vinyl sorted out now. Mm-hmm. And all the other stuff, as we've said, is all on at the old price until the end of this week. BHNshop.nz. That was a long intro. And thanks to the patrons. I was going to say that as well because we showed the Patreon page. Okay, so for tonight, Christopher Luxon on Mike Hosking's this morning spent 7 minutes talking about nothing. And then at the end, Hosking's asked him about capital gains tax. And Luxon rubs his hands together, not literally, metaphorically speaking, going, oh, I'd love for them to run on the CGT, basically saying, bring it on, that'll be the end of them. And another demonstration of how he doesn't know what is popular and what is not, because actually the capital gains tax, the majority of New Zealanders want it. But Luxon's sitting there rubbing his little hands together like this, going, yes, please, not understanding that New Zealanders en masse want something like that. So that was kind of a weird thing. And they talked a bit about boot camp, so we'll be looking at that as well. And also, I want to have a look at Erica Stanford on Q&A yesterday as well. I'll say it again, and I'm even more certain of this. Erica Stanford will be the next leader of the National Party. Whether that's before the election or after the election, nobody knows. I think she'll be the next leader of the National Party. And I just thought Magenta over the weekend, you know how we go, you know how in America they go, oh, this is not the Republican Party of your grandfather's Republican Party. And we've been going, oh, this is not the National Party of John Key's National Party. I think the difference is Erica Stanford is a national MP that would have worked in John Key's national government. So she kind of is the National Party of your father's National Party when all the others kind of have scooted off to the right some more. We'll talk more about that when we play it. But yeah, I think she'll be the next leader. And looking at the polls over the last weekend, maybe sooner rather than later. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some whisperings even just in my neck of the woods on social media. So
yeah,
seems to be a common thought.
It would be quite a bad move by National to change their leader prior to the election. But if they look at it and they go, like if it became like more of a certainty that they would lose, then it would be close. Whereas at the moment it would be close. Then they'll roll him. I mean, Judith Collins would like to have another crack, I'm sure. But I really do think, I mean, I've said this for probably 3 or 4 months. We used to think Nicola Willis, like pre-election, Nicola Willis was playing the game of politics better than Luxon, but post the election, she's been terrible. And no, she is not a likable character for a leader of the party. Pre-election, we were saying, I wonder how long till Nicola Willis rolls him. I don't think there's a hope in hell of that at the moment. Who would get behind Nikki No Boats? But Erica Stanford is she's the next leader.
She's the preferred for sure.
I reckon, in my humble opinion, which is normally wrong, so probably means she's not going to be. And of course, where we want to start tonight's show is from Action Station. Kassie is going to join us and have a talk about all things Māori Ward and the story from last week around Ellen Tamati. So let's get into the show right now. Kassie, good evening to you, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Kia ora korua, and kia ora to everyone listening tonight. Awesome to be here.
Yeah, lovely to have you, man. Hey, like everyone knows this story, and you know, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here because the story has kind of gone through its cycle, but I think it's probably still quite good for us to at least start where. Well, this is not where conversations start, because I know you guys have been pushing since 2018 to get away from this referendum, but one of the big parts of New Zealand conversation that was reanimated towards Māori Wards was last week, when Hobson's pledge ran this campaign of "My Mana Doesn't Need Mandate, Vote No to Māori Wards." Of course, Ellen Tamati there, a kuia from Rotorua, and disgusting, horrible, terrible story that it was. And, you know, even when Don Brash said, oh, we probably would have just gotten AI, even having AI do it, it's like you're still using the imagery of Māori to say no to Māori things. You know what I mean? So even though that might not have offended any individual like this has, but to basically put a make-believe Māori face up there and say, I'm saying no to Māori Wards, is just gross. It's gross. Like, and a very interesting point was made by a very horrible commentator last week, which was, well, why couldn't you get a Māori to front this campaign? You know, why did you have to find a stock image and do it? Why couldn't you get Māori to stand up and say no to Māori Wards? And I think we don't need to know the answer to that question to see how telling that question might be. So, Kassie, start us off in this conversation. We're talking Māori Wards. You're from Action Station. Tell us what we need to know.
Yeah, thank you. Last week was, it was disgusting. I actually just remember shedding a tear with my partner when we watched the video of Fire Ellen talk about how horrified it was to find out that her face was plastered on a billboard without her permission. And it's ironic, right? Because there's no way that people in Hobson's pledge would support having their personal identity attached with a political perspective that they didn't sign on to, but here they are. I think what's important to know about Māori Wards is it didn't all just happen last week. So Māori Wards are seats on local councils or regional councils that are designated for Māori to be able to represent Māori interests, but they're also there to serve the whole community as well. And they've been around since 2001. However, during that time, the only way that the majority way that you were able to get one onto your council is you had to go through a referendum. And if you remember the Treaty Principles Bill debacle, we all know what was all about referendums. They used by the majority dominant group in order to usually subjugate the minority group. So for a long time, for those years, it was deemed almost impossible for councils to be able to get the numbers via a referendum to be able to get a Māori ward onto their council to even have Māori at the decision-making table. And this meant a lot because, for example, in Taranaki, there's one elected official there who is the second Māori ever to sit on that council in 100 years. So we're talking about severe underrepresentation by Māori in local councils, and a solution to that being Māori Wards, but the racists put a caveat on it that you can only have that representation if you get the entire community to vote yes to it. And then inevitably, the racists, aka Hobson's pledge, will get all riled up, they'd run a campaign against it, and before you know it, that referendum has been voted down and Māori do not get the representation that they're looking for. So in 2021, a bunch of communities and ourselves worked together to be able to put forward a petition that changed the law. So Labor at that time changed the law to get rid of referendums, which meant that it would be easier, take away the discriminatory barrier, and it would be easier for Māori wards to be voted in at councils. And as a result of that law change, there was a 1,500% increase in Māori wards that popped up all around the country. So the referendums are a barrier. And keeping in mind, we don't have referendums on any other ward. So where I live, there's a ward for a particular town because it's often left out of the bigger conversations. There's no referendum on that. Rural wards exist in lots of places, There's never a referendum on rural wards, just Māori ones. And so we saw this huge increase of councils really wanting to take advantage of the fact that they could get Māori representation in, and that would benefit their councils. And then, of course, last year we saw national government get rid of that, bring referendums back, and force councils to either get rid of them or have a referendum. And here we are, running into referendum season now. My potted history on Māori Wards.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's been several councils, and forgive me, I don't have them to hand, I should have done, who have had the option of a referendum or not, and they've gone the way that I guess you would want to support. What's been happening amongst the councils at the moment when they've been asking the ratepayers or the citizens about, referendum on Māori Wards or not?
Well, so last year it was really this defining moment, right? Because the councils were given an ultimatum: either get rid of your own one or go to the referendum. And the referendum costs money. The councils know they're divisive. They know there are problems. And yet, what ended up happening is the overwhelming majority, I think it was 98% of councils, stuck by their Māori Wards. And it was a test on them to see how far they've actually come, how much they're willing to honour Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and the majority of them said, we're standing by our Māori Wards. So what you will notice is that so at the moment there's 42 councils that will be going up. There's 78 councils or regions in total. The South Island does not have Māori Wards because there's another arrangement with Kaitahu, with the iwi there. But in many other places, particularly in the North Island, Māori Wards have been proven to increase Māori representation. And all of those 42 councils love them. They think they're working, they're going really well, they stand by them. So it's interesting because in this equation, the councils are not the enemy. Most of the councils really support Māori Wards. They didn't want to do a referendum. Some looked into legal advice to boycott the referendum and not have to do it. But most of them have gone towards doing that referendum, even though the central government bullied them into basically getting rid of their Māori Wards.
It's probably important to ask a couple of questions, almost taking two steps backwards. The first is why do we bring Māori Wards in altogether? I mean, I assume as an ignoramus that part of the treaty guaranteed representation. If there wasn't representation, we need to get it in there through Māori Wards. But the second thing on that question is why are councils supporting them? Like, why do councils see them as working? What work are they doing that aids the council work?
Well, we actually gathered quite a lot of stories last year from people who are members of communities, people who are councillors on councils, and asked for any of their stories and their experiences from working with Māori Wards. And what we heard was an overwhelming story of positivity. So a lot of people talked about how Māori Ward councils have often bridged hard-to-reach Māori communities with councils. And so they've done that work because they already have the relationships. They've really bridged the relationships with local iwi, with marae, but also ngā iwi katoa, like the whole community. Where this really showed up that people talked about quite consistently was in emergency responses and natural disasters. So because there were those relationships that were already there, it became very easy to be able to mobilise everyone, the communities, to be able to look after each other. So that meant that people weren't being left behind. So overwhelming experience is this has been working. It also, I don't probably focus on this as much, but I will say that there were comments made that when there were problems with, local iwi who were having real concerns with the council, it was often the Māori Ward councillors who were going in and having beautiful kōrero with them and working out where to go forward. And that stopped councils from getting in this real adversarial, relationship with local iwi. So heaps of benefits. And I would say that, a lot of these councils have only had Māori Wards for 18 months. So there is this kind of whakaaro, like, throw all the wins on the table and everything that's working and all this concrete stuff that has happened. But I think more than anything, people have said it's actually about weaving communities together and building closer relationships.
Green Chewie, do you want to throw some stuff in here?
I mean, I don't really know where to add, but I think just one thing that I just find frustrating is that I feel like I obviously just finished university, and a lot of the things I studied was around like Māori politics, and I learned about the RMA and all of these protections. And I guess the one thing that I've just found overwhelmingly frustrating is that it feels like in all of that, I was learning how there were a lot of gaps in these types of things, how even the things that we had in place were essentially great, but still had further to go. And to see them attack something like Māori Wards, one of those mechanisms, is just, yeah, I guess it's very disheartening, because it feels like local government as well, they really do have to be the main people who are seeing the population, like local central government, they don't really go and see the people, at least not the ones who are currently in coalition. But it just seems like, yeah, I don't really know what's in there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess, what can we do to kind of help educate people in what they're like Māori wards can provide.
Yeah, awesome. So there's a bit in there, and I just want to respond to a couple of things. Like, first of all, I think we really need to see this as a very deliberate attack on Māori being in decision-making roles, because the reality is that a lot of councils have a say over, for example, my hapu has been fighting the council over having a landfill being put next door to our marae for decades and decades. Councils are often making decisions about, as Māori, our awa, our rivers, our moana, our oceans, our wahi tapu, our sacred places. And so the fact that Māori have been locked out of decision making about the places that are important to us, it's horrendous. It's completely unfair. It's discriminatory. And so it's really essential that we have a say at that local table, and it's a deliberate attempt by this central government to be able to strip Māori so they're not at the decision table. So basically it makes it easier for commercial enterprise and big business to be able to have their say, because they know that when Māori have a say, we usually look after the people and the land, and so they don't want us there. So I think, first of all, let's just be really honest and upfront that this is a deliberate attack on Tino Rangatiratanga and on our people having a say. And then secondly, I'll say is that one of the difficult things is that we fought very hard against having referendums for a reason, and that's because they're rigged against us. We know that the majority of people who vote in both general elections and local elections are older Pākehā who often don't have relationships with Māori and are prone to misinformation, disinformation, and racism about Māori, right? So it's already not a level playing field in terms of how this decision will get made. So I guess what I'll say here is that one of the essential things is that in 42 councils, we are potentially about to lose 42 plus Māori voices, because some areas have more councillors than others. So over 42 Māori voices at local government, and they will disappear in 2028. And for 6 years, we're not allowed to be able to bring them back in. So it's a deliberate way to lock Māori out of decision making. And a lot of this will be won based on how older Pākehā vote. And that's really hard because it's not a level playing field, as I said. So the task in all of this, I think, is that we currently are connected to over 36 local groups and contacts around the country who are currently running their own local campaigns. And they're going to be going straight on the ground, door knocking, doing all kinds of stuff to be able to get out the vote. And part of that is actually saying we need our tangata tiriti allies, and their friends and their whānau really thinking about how they're going to support Māori Wards too. Because the reality is, even if in most areas we got every single Māori out to vote, we could still lose it because it is structurally gamed against us. So this really is a time to be getting involved, basically, in a campaign if you're in one of those 42 regions around the country.
Is there any feeling amongst you and your community, and even like places like action stations, because, what's happened with the Treaty Principles Bill, the Regulatory Standards Bill, the response to things like, the Māori Health Authority going, the response to things like, losing te reo off the headline of, it seems that all of that has been much bigger than a Māori response. So it feels like, especially with those submissions to the Regulatory Standards Bill and the Treaty Principles Bill, there are a lot of non-Māori already activated to say, no, Does it feel that way to you guys, or are non-Māori still kind of dragging their heels in this and we need to give them more of a kick up the arse?
I actually think that the David Seymours and the Christopher Luxons have underestimated the amount of support among non-Māori
Yep.
for Tino Rangatiratanga and for Te Tiriti o Waitangi. I think, and I just want to also say, that's a shout out to the educators. For a good 20 to 30 years, the big strategy that people within Te Ao Māori and that a lot of Pākehā were doing was educating people. And I'm actually going to shout out to Whai Paula Marie McKenzie, and I saw her in the chat because
Yep.
she was one of my kaiko at Te Wānanga o Raukawa, so kia ora whaia. But it's truly been the educators, I think, who have shifted the ground underneath the politics. And so over time, people have been learning more about Te Tiriti this year. People have been learning more about Te Tiriti. And I honestly think that if you sit down for like a full day Te Tiriti class, it's very hard to come out of that and believe that what happened with colonisation was fair or right or just. It's just when you learn the actual historical facts about what was happening, it's very difficult to justify colonisation. It just kind of starts falling away. So I think that a lot of that work, especially by the educators, especially from our whānau Māori who have just held the flag for Tino Rangatiratanga ia rā, ia tau for so long, is now coming home to roost. And I think that this current government has rolled out Trumpian tactics that have worked in other countries, and I don't think they realise how much of a stronghold we have here to support Te Tiriti o Waitangi. The thing is that that's going to be tested, and what we're noticing with Hobson's pledge, it's just they have money, they have the money. When I saw those billboards, I honestly thought to myself, the amount of bank that they have rolling into straight up state is beyond what we have in the progressive movement or on the left. We can't afford to get billboards up like that for the most part without, dialing in some favours or whatnot, what I'm sure people do. And so they are going to bankroll this to hell. They are going to spread all kinds of misinformation. They already do that on lots of different stuff. And there's going to be a test for Aotearoa. Like, where do we stand on this? Where do we stand on the founding document that created us? And so, I really believe that we can win all 42. But the reality is that I'm not going to decide that. Māori aren't going to decide that. It's going to be, our treaty partners who are going to decide what happens this October.
It is ironic that one of David Seymour's legacy is going to be bringing together Māori and non-Māori like no one ever has before. That's going to be it'll be on his gravestone, one of his legacies. Thank you, Mr. Seymour, for bringing together the country under one voice. On some level, you were right, but you brought us together in a different kind of one voice. Hey, Kassie, let's tell people about your website and what they can do to check it out and what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. So we have been working with a group. So if anybody has seen Together for Te Tiriti, so if you've seen signs on people's fences, so we created that last year as part of the response to the Treaty Principles Bill. And you'll see in the corner here that extended whānau, recreated that tohu. So that's in the corner there. And this is our front-facing website that we really want people to share with other tangata Te Tiriti and other Pākehā allies. So a lot of what you'll see on here is, I guess, it's not your usual hardcore Toi Tu Te Tiriti type whakaaro. There'll be lots of that, but this website here is more for if you've got friends and whānau or family or neighbours, and you're not sure where they might be sitting around Māori Wards. This is the website that you can share and give to them that gives them good information that is also combating the misinformation that is out there. So that's MaoriWards.nz. It will show you, as you see here, whether or not your council will be running for a Māori ward. That's really important to know. If your council isn't, kei te pai, still share this stuff on your social media because somebody else, somebody else in a different rohi might see it. And then at the very bottom, if you scroll right down to the end.
I'm going. There I am.
I'm like passenger driving. There's some posters there as well. There's going to be leaflets later this week and that you can put up if you like. And then in the very top corner, sorry, it's back up again. There's also merch there if you want to
Yeah.
wear it. There's a merch option, and we will also have placards. So just like we had with Together for Te Tiriti, if you're feeling like you really want to proclaim it wherever you may be, there will also be placards available as well. Don't take down your Together for Te Tiriti placard because we want to keep those up for next year because we just think that's gonna that's timeless. But if you're really into protecting Māori wards, there's the option to do that too. And then lastly, if you're listening and you are in one of the 42 regions and you really want to get amongst it, contact us on info@actionstation.org.nz. That's info@actionstation.org.nz. Or if you get Action Station emails, just reply to it and ask if there's a local group in your area. Because as I said, I think we've got 36 and growing by the week at the moment. And we really encourage you that if you are keen to meet others and get involved on the ground, reach out. These groups are awesome. Like the stuff that they're doing locally is so creative, so fun. I think there's going to be like a line dancing for Māori Wards event happening up in the Waikato. It's all going to be going on. So if you want to get involved on the ground, just flick us a line and we can connect you with the people that might be in your region who are working on this too.
Oh, Kassie, you had me right up until line dancing. I don't know. I just want to share this as well, and this is really not part of it, but for people who haven't heard the end of the story from Ellen Tamati as well, this post is put up on Okaha's news website update. With her blessing, images of Ellen Tamati are now being shared alongside photos of her mokopuna and whānau taken with their consent. Obviously, the complete opposite of what has happened. All part of the new Toitu Te Tiriti campaign supporting a yes vote for Māori wards across Aotearoa. This is in stark contrast to the billboards that appeared just days ago without her consent, used in the no campaign by Hobson's pledge. So there's a picture of the whānau, and I don't know if these are genuine or are they. That's for real, doesn't it? That looks like it's actually up on a billboard. My mana, my voice, my mandate. Vote yes to Māori wards. My mana, my voice, my mandate. Vote yes to Māori wards. Hey, Kassie, thanks for joining us tonight. Is there anything you want to wrap up with Magenta before we let Kassie go?
Well, I wanted to show everyone some of the cool stuff the Greens will have coming out soon. These ones say I only date people who vote to keep Māori wards. We also have some in Māori as well. But no, I mostly just want to say thank you so much for all the mahi that y'all are out there doing, because you're right. This isn't I was kind of complaining about it on Blue Sky, but the fascism is fascisming a little too hard and a little too fast, and the recolonization, I don't like where it's at. So thank you, because you're right. We need to actually put our words where our words where our mouth is, or whatever, and just get down and do it. That's why I started volunteering, more, and why I've been trying to pester everyone I know that if you can, even if it's as small as a phone call or a data thing, just get amongst it.
And vote. And vote.
Yeah,
I mean,
and actually,
especially in the local
encourage
body.
people
Vote,
who don't vote. Yeah, if
Yeah.
people you know people who don't vote, please try to have conversations with difficult people, because we need them, unfortunately.
They're the people who vote, as Kassie said. They're typically older. They're typically property owners. They're typically European, and they do not represent the communities that they are in. They are a portion of the community, all well and good, but they are not the representative look of the community. So we all have to go out there and vote. We should start a campaign like take one more vote. Take one person with you. If everyone takes one person with them to vote, then we'll get the change. What does it? Be the change you want.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, actually, at the Greens AGM, they were saying, we want to be good ancestors. We want to be the tipuna that our mokopuna can go, I'm proud of them.
Yeah, because it's
100%.
very obvious that this other side is trying to complete colonization. So you want to be the opposite of that. So, hey, Kassie, thanks for joining us tonight, mate. Thanks for being in touch. And anytime you want to come back on and chat, we are always here. We love having you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me along. And vote to keep Māori wards, and flick us a line if you want to get more involved. Ka kite.
There you go. See you later, Kassie. Very cool. And remember again, I'm definitely going to get some of that merch tonight. I'm going to be down. If people want to find out more about it, it's Māori Wards with an S, I only say it like that because I went to Māori Ward.nz and I got lost. I couldn't find anything. So Māori Wards.nz to find out all that information. All right. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Magenta? I have to say, I look at your name and it says Green Chewie, and I want to say Green Chewie every time. I have to look away and go, no, not Green Chewie, Magenta. Magenta, anything you want to add to it?
I guess for me, I think one thing that I've really definitely been kind of thinking is that we do need to, like, because I think it's your question actually earlier that made me think about the fact that a lot of the people that we talk to, especially the tangata tiriti, they do tend to be pretty good because they're talking to us.
Yeah.
It's the tangata tiriti that most of us can't really talk to. And I think that's why I'm encouraging those difficult conversations, because honestly, I think even if people focused solely on having those difficult conversations, that would really help, because there does seem to be a bit of an attitude issue that kind of underlies a lot of this.
I just think it's always a problem taking to a referendum things that aren't a part of your community. Like, I mean, and I always use these examples about how we're all minorities somewhere. Dog owners are a minority. You know, if we went by the majority, they'd probably defund all the dog parks in New Zealand, because why should they pay for a dog park that they're never going to use? So we are all minorities on some level, which means all of us can suffer at the hands of the majority on some level. This is what we're talking about now with Māori Wards. It's just a tad more serious than the dog park. But you know what I mean? It's like,
No,
if we can put ourselves in that situation, that we could all be the victims of a mass vote against us. And then just start to think what we're here for, what this is about. You know, what is this? You know, we're a multicultural country based on a bicultural agreement, that to have people who are outside that, like to have one half of that contract, one half of that agreement, basically saying this is now what the other half's going to do, or this is what the other half's we're going to question. It's like your bank dictating to you what's going to happen with your mortgage from now on. So no, this is a two-party. You know, there's two parts to this agreement. Now we both have to agree. You don't get to mandate, and this government hates that word from the last lot, but mandate a change on the other lot. You know, like I mean, you'd never think of, let's say, changing a societal norm or a societal right for the over 65s without including the over 65s. If a bunch of 25-year-olds could decide what was happening to over 65s, most of us would have an issue with that. But for a bunch of non-Māori to decide what's happening with Māori, it's wrong. Chewie always says it. I think he goes, human rights should never be a referendum. Yeah. Sometimes doing what's best for a minority is still the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be up to a referendum. And I think it's frustrating that we have to keep fighting for these types of things. I think that's just one thing that I know we're all kind of fighting against, is just trying to, because I mean, I don't ever plan to have children, but I don't want kids to go without food at school. You know, I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to enjoy, ECE or whatever things. Because a lot of the time, a lot of the benefits, I guess you could call them, go to people who procreate. And I'm happy for them to have those things to help rear the children, because it's a hard job. I find it funny that people can be so selfish or uninformed, because I used to be a lot less understanding of these things before I started my decolonizing and re-indigenizing journey.
In the chat, Daniel says Access Radio Taranaki is currently running a great podcast series on Māori Wards called What the Heck, or WTH, are Māori Wards. Very informative. Okay, I'll try and remember to put that on the Facebook page. If people want to get access to it, go to it. And Facebook page is really rocking at the moment, by the way. If you haven't liked us on Facebook, we're up towards 9,000 people following us on Facebook. And I noticed we've just tipped over 19,000 on YouTube as well. So 20,000 just around the corner. Yeah, so because obviously Facebook's an easy place to put that link. I'll try and remember. Magenta, you can send me an email if you want. Help me remember. Yeah. To put a link to that up on the Facebook page. Kiwi Bird says, Don Brash says, vote yes for Māori Wards. Yeah, no. There's quite a few good memes going around over the weekend about what putting Don Brash's face on a bunch of stuff that he doesn't stand for.
Oh yeah, we had plenty of memes.
As for the hoodies and stuff, Jeremy says that we should do a pink BHN for breast cancer and a blue for prostate cancer.
Yeah.
It's actually prostate cancer month this month, September. Blue September.
Well, next,
Is it September
next
yet?
month. No,
Next
it's all,
month.
no, it's next
Oh,
month.
it's always.
I'm a September baby, so not my birthday yet.
Oh, well, maybe we'll think about that because I think
Yeah.
breast cancer awareness is October, goes September, October. So, like I said about those hoodies, they're a limited run, but for full transparency, it doesn't mean that they may not come back. So it'd be like if we did a Christmas T-shirt. There'd be a limited run for Christmas, but it might come back next Christmas. So, but it's still a period that it's limited for. So there you go. I guess that's us. Is there anything else to? No, that's us.
Oh, I'm sure we got something in there.
Oh, we've got lots of other things to talk about. Anything else in the chat that we want to get to? Oh, there we go. Some Paula says straight away, yellow for Daffodil Day. We did yellow, didn't we? We did Daffodil Day with
Buffer, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's a good idea, actually. It's good because it's such a strong colour on that black hoodie. We could do some more of those.
It would look very crisp.
Yeah. Raven says yes, blue. Okay, this is we work. And for people who got the message this morning this evening that we've put a whole bunch of merch out. If you didn't get an email today with your merch coming, there is a chance you'll get it tomorrow. I've got more to pack and send. I will definitely get them packed tomorrow, but it's then also getting to the post shop on a normal work day. So the rest of them will be packed tomorrow and they may be posted tomorrow. If not, probably Wednesday. So the rest of you will probably get. Some people got them delivered by hand today. It's always fun doing that. Knock on the door.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, why don't we move on? I think we'll leave Erica Stanford for last because Erica Stanford, I've got a lot of clips for Erica Stanford. We may not do them all, but they're all quite short. Yeah, we'll look at that. Why don't we have a look at old mate Luxon? Old mate Luxon on ZB this morning. Now, this also rolls in because there's this question that we've been asking for quite a long time. Like, we don't pay much attention to the polls other than watching the trends. Like, the trends are like, I don't know what you guys on Friday night, but we never kind of go, oh, look, 42 seats, because all that's bollocks until election day. But what we do look at trends, and what we do look at is preferred Prime Minister. And the trends have been that this has been quite close between Labour and National, and the trends have been that Luxon's not popular, especially compared historically to other Prime Ministers in their first term at this time. And Hosking brings it up because there was a poll in the weekend that came out, or Friday that came out. Now, just by chance, TVNZ did their poll tonight as well. So we'll have a look at the Hosking stuff, and then we might have a look straight into the TVNZ poll results, and that'll kind of give us a well-rounded show to do with, do we like or loathe Mr. Luxon, maybe. Christopher Luxon doesn't understand what's popular. And that was very evident today when he was talked to about the capital gains tax. And he, with glee, said, please run on that. He's not aware, or he's trying to sell to his base that a capital gains tax is popular. It's more popular than no capital gains tax. So he is now actively advocating for the Labour Party to run on something that's very popular, that will get them votes. And he doesn't seem to know how to play the game. The other thing, and this will piss you off, Magenta, about this first kind of 90 seconds, is they start to dismiss and have a crack at the Labour, Greens, Te Pāti Māori leadership. Oh, could you imagine them being Prime Minister? It's like, well, you might have to in 14 months. It's like, you know, I often float to sporting analogies, but it's as soon as you underestimate the opposition, is they sneak a win past you if you're a quote unquote better team. And it does sound very dismissive. Let's have a listen.
Before you went to Queenstown, Hipkins was in Queenstown alluding to the fact he may well run on capital gains tax. Would you be happy to run a campaign
Oh, bring
against
that on. I mean, like, you know, honestly, if you seriously think a wealth tax, a capital gains tax or inheritance tax, the thing that I was quite alarmed about, you had Chloe Swarbrick saying she wants to be finance minister, and you didn't have Chris Hipkins defend Barbara Edmonds. He didn't say, he didn't rule it out, right? And that
which is the correct response. Mr. Hipkins, we've been saying this for 6 months. Don't shit on the Greens. They're going to be your partners. No response is fine. We don't have to play the game that that these guys were playing.
But, you know, she wants to add, what, $44 billion worth of more debt, $88 billion worth of taxes. I'm telling you, it's very interesting. I don't know whether you've followed what's happening in the UK. Some of the changes they've made with their taxes. They've had CEOs and wealthy people leave with capital very, very quickly, and that would happen here in New Zealand in a heartbeat.
£42 billion
Our wealth creators and our generators, I'm telling you, people don't want to hear it, but they would take off.
Well, to be fair, the Māori Party would provide the balance then with that three, wouldn't they?
It would
So
be
this
a
is
wonderful
dismissive
cabinet
stuff.
with Chloe as your finance minister, co-prime ministers, Rauri, Debbie, who else we got in there? Marama.
As much as you may laugh, the Curia poll out this morning has Labor in front of you. Explain it.
Well, pretty tough
And
time.
that's a perfectly good question. Even though we obviously tell you where we are politically, it's still a fair question to go, if you guys are so good and those guys are so shit, why are they so close to you? It's a perfectly valid question.
I mean, I don't go into polls because every time there is a different poll every week
Because they're terrible for me.
in this country, and people don't want me talking about myself or polls. I think the big trend is pretty obvious. People expect us to fix the economy. It's as simple as that. So fix it, and then in 2026, they'll make their call.
Yeah, I would agree with them on that. People want them to fix the economy, and they're making it worse. Now, just as evidence, right? I'm just bringing a little. This is like enter stage left. So this is no longer a controversial concept. Capital gains tax. 2/3 of voters, 2/3, 2 out of 3 people who want to vote support a capital gains tax of some kind. So when Mr. Luxon jumps up and, oh, please bring it on, obviously we all know this. The reason he's saying that is he's saying, what a terrible policy. It won't go anywhere. The voters will hate it. Well, it's not what the research shows,
Not
Mr.
at all.
Luxon. Thoughts, Magenta?
Well, I mean, first of all, obviously it's ridiculous. I also, it wasn't just almost it was just the way he was almost saying, well, butchering Rauri's name, Debbie's name, which is a fucking white name anyway, and then Marama, the way he was chewing on it sounded like he thought that was disgusting, which I'm just like, I know he does because he's clearly fucking racist as shit, but it also just the way he tried to be like, oh, well, you know, that's not what New Zealanders want me to talk about. That's not what they want me to do. Do you want to see what he's been doing and what he thinks we
Sure.
want him to do?
Yep. You got to take me down first. There you go.
Ed. Apparently, he reckons we want to see him and Albanese eat pavlova on a mountain.
What
This
that
is
cost
what
the
he
I wonder what that cost the taxpayer.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had a private helicopter. You know, just this is what he thinks that we actually want versus like actual answers to any problem.
I like, and I don't typically like to get caught up in those. Oh, they wasted $50,000 because, on the grand scheme of things, that's like us wasting 10 cents of our budget.
Yeah.
But we measure this government by how they measured the last government and by the standards they set for themselves. So what about this, Mr. Luxon, from pre-election?
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
So how much did that trip cost going up to the snow for a photo op and your 7 social media people with you as well?
And the strawberries, there was strawberries on that, Pav.
Oh, not even in season. There'll be millions of
Right,
those things.
exactly.
We've got another clip to play of Mr. Hosking, but I think this is probably a time, because you just talked about him in the polls. We also then go to TVNZ. So these are the results from TVNZ last night. I mean, like I said, party votes, don't read too much into it. It's interesting to see that New Zealand First is now ahead of ACT, which I find fucking hilarious.
Yeah. David will hate that.
Yeah, but it's of no meaningful significance this far out. What is more interesting is where the preferred prime ministers, etc., stand in. So let's have a bit of a look at the polls from tonight, and then we'll get back to the question of boot camps with Mr. Hosking.
The winter chill is upon us, and as the frost sets in, some politicians are feeling the cold more than others. Let's take a look. National is steady on 34%, no change in temperature. Labor, though, is heating up and cozying up to National on 33%. That's a big 4-point jump, but it comes at the expense of the Greens, down 2 points, now on 10%. And look who's got the warm and fuzzies. New Zealand First up 1 point on 9.
I mean, honestly, honestly, I don't know how much money they spend on these polls, but all of this stuff means nothing. It really honestly means nothing. Maybe even so much so that I might just skip forward. We just look, they've got to see how many seats that would mean, blah, blah, blah. Yes. All right, here we go. Here's the meat and 2 veg. That sounded wrong, sorry.
Let's bring up preferred Prime Minister numbers now, and Christopher Luxon is really feeling the chill, dropping a massive 3 points to 20%. Chris Hipkins, meanwhile, is steady just behind on...
he's still the most preferred Prime Minister, but these are historically bad polls for a Prime Minister. What are we getting towards 2 years into their first term? It's probably 20 months.
That's rough to hear.
These are historically bad. This is the one that makes you go, oh, Erica Stanford, yeah, she'd be quite a good leader of the National Party.
On 19%. Winston Peters is up 1 point on 7%. Chloe Swarbrick is down 1 on 4%, alongside David Seymour, who's steady on 4. And hello, it's Shane Jones popping up for the first time as winter reveals who's cosy and who's out in the cold. Out on the snow, hosting Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Christopher Luxon's competitive streak was on.
Sorry, I just get the sense I want to do this one more time.
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
As he hosts the Prime Minister on a helicopter flight on the top of the world.
Full display.
We all know the Kiwis invented the pavlova. They stole it. They try and claim it.
Now, after a frosty political poll showing his popularity is plummeting.
I mean, jeepers, I need some hot chocolate or something. Let's get it moving. All right.
We're going in for a cuddle.
A cuddle could be just what the doctor ordered.
Good Lord.
Look, it's not about me or the polls. It's really about us doing the right thing by the New Zealand people, which is actually fixing the economy.
Yeah, but the thing is that you're not. This is the thing. I mean, I know New Zealander would disagree with you about making the economy better. Fixing is a bit of a loaded word because you're saying the last lot broke it and you're making, but we'll just say making it better, and you're tangibly not doing that.
Popular, though, isn't the label any Prime Minister wants to wear.
The things that Christopher Luxon said he was going to fix are actually getting worse under his leadership.
Luxon's saving grace is that National's numbers and the coalition's remain steady.
We were just saying it's a bit like Star Trek warp speed up there, the way the tunnel's lit. It's sort of like...
Voters understand it's been a really difficult time. We've dealt with a recession, we've dealt with the COVID hangover, we've dealt with international uncertainty.
We've dealt with having to give $14 billion back to landlords and $3 billion in tax cuts all the other way around. We've had to deal with all those tough decisions. It's been hard.
We've dealt with international uncertainty.
People are having a long, cold winter. They're voting on the economy.
Yes.
And so it doesn't surprise me to see.
Yes, David. That's the point. They're voting on your economy.
Yeah, the poll doesn't change the economy.
They are voting on the economy. You are correct. Your economy.
Voting on the economy.
Yes.
And so it doesn't surprise me to see the government under pressure.
So what David's saying is the economy's shit and the government's under pressure. It's actually a really interesting way he worded that. It doesn't surprise me to see the government almost like it's a separate entity. Them. And David Seymour for the last 6 months has been in electoral mode. He's been in election mode. So he's actually going, yep. I understand why the public aren't happy with those guys, but you're actually the number 2 of those guys. But he's trying to distance himself. It's interesting.
Speaking of pressure, ACT is now trailing behind New Zealand First in
1
popularity.
point margin of error.
Well, really, there's been 3 polls in the last 3 days. 2 we're ahead, 1 they're ahead of us. I mean, these things will come and go.
Yep.
Well, we're out there talking to ordinary New Zealanders in packed halls all over the country and turning your polls into confetti.
New Zealand First made it a hat trick with a rise for the party, Peters and this guy popping up in preferred Prime Minister.
Great! I'm on the top of the world! I think we can see from the experience internationally that, strong men who are promising to make things great again are resonating in spaces where, there's not necessarily solid solutions that are being put on the table.
The Greens offered plenty of solutions at their AGM, but voters are yet to be convinced, the party losing 2 points.
We've been counted out before in Auckland Central, in Wellington Central and in Rongotai, and we have made history by mobilising with regular people.
Scooping up the Greens' lost support and then some. Let's go, Labour, let's go! Labour has surged with a 4-point rise.
There's no doubt New Zealanders are losing faith in this government. Cost of living is continuing to get worse. More people are losing their jobs.
As for Te Pāti Māori, losing an MP and contesting a by-election has kept them busy, but their voters have stood by their side with steady support.
Yep, so we'll leave that one there. There is another clip to play, actually, about just what people are thinking of the Prime Minister himself and how he's not resonating. I don't know if we'll play that or not, but fascinating. Because the thing is, they're saying the right words, but they're trying to... They didn't actually say blame Labour, but that's what they've done. The economy is really bad at the moment. Yeah. You guys are in charge. You're the guys who took $17 billion out and now have given $1 billion to big tobacco. This is the money you've taken out. This is your economy. And it's almost like they're trying to say, times are tough and people are voting because times are tough and we get that and times are tough. It's like, you're making them tough. That you're right. Do you not connect the two? Do you not connect the two things, the economy and us? They don't like the economy, they don't like us.
Opposition.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, 100%. No, I don't think we'll play that other clip. There's another clip on there as well, which is, maybe we'll play a little bit of it. We've got time, haven't we? So there was two parts to the story. I won't play all of this. It's 3.5 minutes, but it was also more speaking specifically of Luxon and his unfavourability at the moment.
It seems our leader isn't everyone's cup of tea.
Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Jenny Wiley, Netball New Zealand Chief Executive.
Out in Petone, we sampled the public view on whether he's doing a good job.
Yeah, reasonably given the circumstances.
Yeah. Well, why do you say that?
Just pretty tough times economy-wise.
Definitely not.
Why do you say that?
He's just wishy-washy.
As Prime Minister?
Really harsh words.
Why do you think that?
Because he's for the rich.
Qualifications. He's a CEO trying to run a country. He's got no idea about the people.
From a Māori perspective, it looks pretty bad. From a Scottish perspective, because that's my other side, it's looking pretty bad too.
Kind of feedback in Takapuna.
He's doing great, yeah.
I think he's doing pretty well.
He has inspired people.
Takapuna, of course.
He's a marketer, he's not a leader.
He's a businessman, not a politician, and that's a positive.
Christopher Luxon took over National while the party was in opposition. He started off on 17% in the preferred Prime Minister stakes, and the public liked the cut of his jib, swiftly rising to 25%. He bounced around a bit, but was back on 25 when he won the election in 2023 and became PM. This time last year, he was at his highest ever rating, but since then, gravity's taken hold and he's floated back down.
It just seems to be, I mean, I haven't got the data in front of me. I could have got it, I guess, but it just seems to me that the person, your prime ministership shouldn't be 1 in 4 people rate you, and the highest you've got to is less than 1 in 3 people rate you. Do you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't feel like that's good enough for a prime minister. I mean, Hipkins is on the same numbers at the moment, but he's not prime minister. It just feels like it should, I don't know, it should be more.
Oh, yeah.
Our prime minister should be 35, 40, 45%.
Yeah, 28%, like out of 100? Are we doing this out of 100?
No, it's out of 50% thing. This has only got about 60 seconds, so we'll play to the end.
Essentially what's happened here is the same sort of structural issues that have dogged him as Prime Minister, and largely that's the economy and cost of living. He is still, tethered to those issues.
National leader John Key was sitting on 45% as preferred Prime Minister. Midway into his first term, Jacinda Ardern was sitting on just over 40%, halfway through hers.
There's no crime in not being as popular as John Key or Jacinda Ardern.
But does Christopher Luxon find his falling ratings a little bit awkward?
It's not about me or the polls, it's really about the New Zealand people, and what they're focused on is the...
Yeah, but New Zealand people make up the polls, knob end. So you're right, but it's the New Zealand people who are telling you what they think through the polls.
Economy. They want me to fix the economy.
The Prime Minister not sensing any political danger.
There you go. All right, Magenta, have a crack. You can have the floor. Got anything you want to share on that before we go back to the lovely Mr. Hosking?
Well, I mean, that in that video that you just showed, I've got my own version of it because obviously, the meme world has been already running around with this, but he actually he avoided giving a hongi to Albanese despite the fact that Albanese was giving it to everyone. So he goes around, keeps giving the hongi, and yeah. So that was, I don't know, to me, that again, on top of everything else, it's just, he can never say that this is not an attack on Māori or that he doesn't value our culture because he won't even participate in it ceremonially.
We need to be always super careful to make sure we're accurate. Albanese did not hongi everybody. Right, it still stands that it was weird and awkward and odd. I had this to queue up to play as well tonight. He hongied many people, but not everybody. And the thing about Luxon that was weird is that how awkward he was on not knowing what to do. It was like, it was like someone on a first date. Do I go in for the kiss? Do I pull back? It's kind of a bit weird and a bit awkward, but he has, Luxon that is, he has form with this. And I'll show you in a sec. We'll just let this play out because now this is the bit here. Do we kiss? No tongues? From here. And then, this is his wife. They just have a hug and a kiss. And, so it's just, it was not everybody, but it doesn't make the awkwardness. There's just a handshake there. Doesn't make the awkwardness any different. But just remember, and then there's another hongi at the end there, which is kind of cool. Just remember, though, this is the awkward nature of the man. Doesn't that look like they are about to kiss?
Oh, absolutely.
So it doesn't make it. I mean, I'm not playing it down how weird it was, but this is the hug that stopped in and out, and yeah, he's just a very, very, very strange man, and he doesn't seem to know what is appropriate in a cultural setting. I mean, I would think I would.
Which, I mean,
hope,
he's our prime minister, though. He should.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I was even going to give him some more grace than that. I would hope that most CEOs of famously New Zealand companies like Air New Zealand, who have to represent New Zealand, would know, the cultural appropriateness of how to act in classic New Zealand settings, whether it's on a marae, whether it's, in a kapahaka or watching a kapahaka, whether it's bringing a guest through. And he obviously has never done that stuff and doesn't have a clue, which I think speaks to, come back now to government, to how they don't value Māori things. I mean, since the start of this this cycle, I've been saying and asking Māori this question who have come on, why the hell are you guys going out when he is a guest coming in, and performing for him? It's like, if he's going to go like this for 39 days in a row, why do Māori then go out and still, enable him to look good by demonstrating their culture when an international guest comes through? I mean, maybe because
the cost of living is fucked. No, honestly, I mean, to be fair, it's really difficult to be Māori in an economy like we're in now. I come from Rotorua. That is a big part of our city. I know plenty of people who do kapahaka, like, overseas for official things.
But hang on, are you because I'm only talking about for the Prime Minister. I'm not talking about Rotorua doing, I was there a couple of months ago, lots of performances, fantastic, paid lots of money to go and see them. I'm just speaking about when the Prime Minister all of a sudden wants to, on one day out of a 10-week cycle, wants to go, look at our wonderful Indigenous people, and the other 99 days go, fuck you guys, with their policy. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing it at all. So we're clear.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, is that, like, when you're in, like, we're all struggling so much. Though, like, It's really there's a small minority of people in this country who are comfortable right now, and when everyone's struggling, I can't fault Māori for being stuck in such a racist system that they sometimes have to play ball in. So for me,
But the suggestion you're making is that these kapahaka groups are doing it because they need the money. That's what
well,
you're
I mean,
suggesting.
individual yeah, I mean, if it's for specifically Luxon, I mean, we've all got to try find ways to survive. And also, a lot of whānau Māori have a lot of internalized racism because a lot of them, none of us learn our history. And when you're Māori and disconnected from it in such a way, there can be a lot of complicated things that can happen, especially when you start to confront those types of things. So a lot of people, don't. And it can be a very difficult thing. And I think also kind of criticizing Māori for being stuck in a system is kind of just ends up villainizing and victimizing people who are victims of a system kind of thing. Because, I mean, it's hard out there. And also, again, a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding has not only been lost, but fucked with in very complicated ways. Yeah, and exactly that. Like, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Before we go on to the last bit of Hosking, I just noticed a wee visitor in the chat.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Chewie is sicky. There is much mucus.
Oh, poor bud.
Poor bud. All right, let's get into the last conversation because the last part about the Mike Hosking this morning was talking about the boot camps. And Mr. Luxon gives a response to what do we need to do to make these numbers work. And his response is we need to lock these kids up for longer. That's actually the response when he talks about making the program. 'Cause don't get it twisted. When he talks about making the program longer, he's saying, well, the way we solve the problem with these kids is to keep them locked up for longer. Let's have a look at the conversation around boot camps.
The boot camps, 8 out of 10 reoffended. You guys still say it's a success. How do you defend it?
Well, I mean, the point is these are the toughest kids in the country. We've got to do something different because we were in a pretty bad place.
And of course, what he's not saying is we got to do something different that works. Because we can all do something different that doesn't work. I mean, when Chewie is here, we often talk about you can throw a drowning man a cinder block. I've done something. Did it work? No. It actually just drowned him more quickly, but we tried something and it didn't work. So this government seems to be about trying stuff. They don't seem to be about being as careful as they can to try stuff that works. That's the part of the conversation that's missing.
And to be fair, real quickly before you press play, I think the way he's framed it as the toughest kids in the country is, to me, that goes, oh, so they're probably some of the most traumatized and people with the most complex issues in the country. Okay, good way to frame them as horrible, bad people. Nice.
Yeah, these are, amongst all the kids, these are the biggest assholes.
These are the worst children. Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep going with these guys.
Boot camps, there are elements of it worked well. When the kids are actually in the academies, that went great. We'd probably want to extend that time to give them more of that.
Extend that time, we'll lock them up for longer. That's our response.
We clearly didn't manage there's more work to do on managing them back into the community. And yes, there was reoffending that took place. But I just say, look, I mean, people say, oh, give up on the boot camps. The point is, well, we've got to try doing something, right? I mean, you just can't carry on leaving as it was.
We've got to try doing something that works. This is the bit you keep missing out, something that works.
We've also tried
the cost was the factor. I mean, the amount of money you pumped into each kid was enormous.
It was, I get it, and it was a good, so we've got to take the learnings out of that pilot and actually sort of, get, I think, a longer academy phase and better community support for these tough kids. They've actually got
locking up kids for longer sounds so much nicer when you say a longer academy phase. I mean, that's such a nicer way of saying let's lock them up for longer.
Choice to make. All we're trying to do is give them an option to say, we know where your life's going. It's a bad trajectory. You've got a chance to turn it around and do something different. This is that intervention to do it. But I just say, Mike, the thing that's really encouraging is that actually our youth offending is down 13%. Ram rates are down almost 60%. And so that general approach that we've had around consequences has got through to young people, and that's a good thing.
All right, good to see you. Appreciate
good to see you.
I have to say one of the comments in the chat right now is one of my more favourites in recent times. That was roll-on deodorant and Timu Piers Morgan.
That's good.
Bravo.
That's good.
Bravo.
I
We
like
bow.
that.
We
Yeah,
bow
yeah,
to
yeah,
your
that's-
superior
that's
humour.
good.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Yeah, look, I mean, the reoffending rate is 50%, I think, out of prison. So 80% out of the thing is an utter failure. But, there was, let me think, there was like a bunch of people, saying this wouldn't work. It had been tried before and it failed everywhere. So he keeps talking about trying something, like this has been tried. This has been tried by you guys and it didn't work then. So when you keep saying we've got to try something, new, even new, if new doesn't work, because new doesn't work. Okay, let's stop that. Try something else new, not, make boot camps great again. That's not what we should be doing this about.
No, not a copy paste. At the bare minimum, you've got to change at least one variable in your experiment for it to be considered something worth putting that time into. Not to mention the fact that, like, when it comes to those boot camps, like you said, the data's there. All of the psychology research has been done for so long. And actually, it was something that I think it was a university lecturer from Victoria when Tam was doing Tough on Crime. He was talking about the fact that when it comes to boot camps, all they do is create more victims. We're not actually helping crime and poverty. We're creating a bigger problem because we're just churning out victims who then often end up in a prison pipeline, which only continues to make them better criminals.
Yeah, well, we all know on this show the problem that they're trying to solve, which is to get re-elected, and this plays well to their base, even though it doesn't work. So
Yeah, the same way they're just shifting the homeless out of the way, not actually into homes.
yeah. A couple of super chats that have come in. Ryjan just says late fee associate ministers exist. Barbers and Chloe can share.
Yeah,
This is
true.
back to the Citizen says Luxon may have been thinking that Albo is too racist even for him to greet in that manner.
Oh, good. So good.
One from Gary that says they damage people for no good reason because they know better than the facts. Evidence and expert advice, they're the arseholes. And one more that you started, Kel says, why are we paying so much per kid, but there aren't enough psychologists and counsellors for them? 100%. All right, we're going to get into the conversation right now, and there's too many clips probably to play all of them, although they are pretty quick, most of these clips, like a minute or so. Erica Stanford on Q&A in the weekend. Now, I'll say it again. Erica Stanford is, in my opinion, going to be the next leader of the National Party. I also think, in case you're just joining us tonight, earlier on, the thing that everyone says, this is not your father's National Party or your grandfather's National Party with what they're doing now. Erica Stanford comes across as one of those MPs who would be in your father's National Party or your grandfather's National Party. As we know on Q&A, you come prepared, and she did. And I'll tell you something, Magenta, she is distancing herself from this government. Some of the things she says is clear and obvious distance, talking about a cabinet decision. She's not going to say ICE. At one point in this conversation, she gets the chance to support something and she overtly says no. Like, it's really interesting. I mean, I don't know how to label any national minister, because they're in an arsonist group of politicians. But out of all of them, she seems to have some, and I'm not going to bat for her, but some reasonable takes. She seems to be the kind of politician that you can go, we disagree on policy, like we used to. Not we disagree with how you're trying to rip everyone's human rights away. Like that's how she kind of comes across. And I wonder if that's another reason she might end up being the next leader of the National Party. Talking about the change away from NCEA into a new system, and the question is basically, NCEA works for a bunch of groups of kids, like certain kids, neurodivergent kids that would normally slip through an academic. It works for them. How are we going to ensure we don't leave them behind in the new system?
Will the balance between internal and external examinations differ across subjects?
It most likely will. I mean, take music, for example, if you're doing performances, or if you're doing science where you've got science experiments, or art where you've got art projects, you are always going to need internal assessments, and sometimes a greater proportion of those. So that's something we'll work through.
So NCEA obviously was designed to have flexibility for the diverse student population, the different challenges students face and the ways in which they learned. It was designed for to be better for disabled kids, for neurodiverse kids, all of those things. Recognising that you want the absolute best outcomes for the largest number of students possible, looking at it critically, who does the transition to a less flexible system risk underserving?
Well, I don't think that we are throwing that baby out with the bathwater. We are retaining some of that flexibility. We're making sure that there are internals versus externals. We're making sure we've got...
Who do you think's greatest at risk, though?
I'm not sure that there is a risk, because we've thought very carefully about those exact students. We're making sure that we are integrating our VET pathways, our vocational pathways, with the new system, so that there are really robust, industry-aligned, tertiary-aligned relevant qualifications in those VET pathways as well. So we've taken the best of that flexibility to make sure that it still exists while maintaining academic rigour, while maintaining the fact that we don't want people to game the system, and that we do have external exams that kids show up for, because we cannot have a situation where we have 250,000 exam papers that are left blank every year. That's a failing system.
Yeah, that is an extraordinary data point.
There you go. Magenta, I saw you pulling a few faces there. One of the Jack Tame is a bit of a canary in the coal mine as well. When he doesn't push back very much, one of the things he's saying is that a question was answered. Now, whether we agree or don't agree with it, that question was answered. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think just from the external internal argument, as it is, even when I was at uni, there was a lot of debate and discussion around the fact that a lot of those external exams, not only are they don't suit all people, is that they don't necessarily actually measure how intelligent or how much you understand a subject. But a lot of the time it just is how well can you memorize something.
Yeah.
And that has been like, and as someone who has studied, I'll be honest, there's a lot of stuff I have forgotten from, especially quite a few, the few years back in the beginning. I couldn't tell you jack shit about what I did in my diploma, because all I did was just focused on, okay, well, I know this is what they need me to remember and learn, because I have to take medication to go into an exam, because my brain and body do weird things. And it's, so from that standing point, it's just kind of a bullshit argument to me. But then she's talking about these vocational pathways and leading them into tertiary, when this government has just fucked the ITP system by disestablishing Te Pūkenga, which is where a lot of those vocational pathways lead to. So it does feel a little disingenuous and kind of like, again, cherry picking a bit. I think that internal external thing is something that we as like a general population should actually really look into, because I'm the kind of person that if I can talk to someone about the subject, I'm good to go. The second it comes to writing stuff, I can't. I just fall over myself. I trip over it. I try to think too many thoughts at once, and it just...
I guess that's what Jack's talking about, like neurodiverse kids or disabled kids or whatever they are. They work better with internal assessments. And the thing is, this is what we're always really careful of. Sometimes when this government says things that sound reasonable, we don't have the trust level to go, oh, so that'll be sweet. It's the trust level that makes our kind of bullshit nerve go off. But when I went through school in the early 1920s, there was both internal assessment and external assessment. So you'd sit, 60% of your grade would be based on internal assessment, and then you'd have an exam at the end of the year or whatever. So there was sort of a bit of both. I wonder as well from, I trained at Teachers Training College for a while and saw a bit of that. I wonder, the question is, how do you make it work for everyone? And you can't. Like, it's impossible for it to work for everyone. So who's missing out in the current system? How will this fix it? And what about the next system? Who will miss out? And how do we enable that not to happen? I don't have the answers to any of those questions. If Erica Stanford was here, that's a question I'd ask her.
Yeah.
Because it seems like perhaps what I'm hearing, and I didn't do NCEA, although I've had kids that have done it, and I don't understand the methodology or anything. It seems that what they're saying is that maybe the kids that work better with internal assessment, which means small, manageable percentile to get your credits, are better with this, but maybe the uber academics aren't. I don't know. Did you experience, does that ring true to you or anything at all?
Not really. And I think that's where I'm kind of thinking of, we've talked a lot about how what's good for Māori is good for everyone. I think when it comes to accessibility, it's the same. Like I have, I have worked with disabled, we had a disabled artist festival where, it was all disabled people putting it on, that we were the artists and the ones in it. I learned audio description, so that we could try to make things accessible to people. And for a lot of people, those accessibility things actually enhance the experience of people who don't necessarily need them. And I think that is where, if we were able to actually be more accessible, then we wouldn't have to worry as much. Like, yes, there will always be people who unfortunately are at this end or this end of the distribution scale, but we would be able to make a much wider net if we kind of focused on disability and accessibility, which is another thing that I don't trust this government with, given everything that's been happening between whaikaha. There's been reports recently that total mobility, which is access for disabled people, that's currently being considered on whether it's going to be able to continue. And it's just, if we were able to teach and enable those who are getting missed out now, it's not going to disadvantage the kids who are already doing fine.
Yeah, I guess as well, academic kids will also always academic, won't they? Well, whatever system.
I was an academic child.
They will probably.
I was an accelerate. I was an accelerate kid. Actually, I'll be honest, a lot of the accelerate kids that I went to school with, I'm so sure a lot of them were neurodiverse. And I would say a big portion of them were. So it's not even about academic. It's just about the fact that everyone's got different skill sets, and we should be working with what people's strengths are rather than making them feel lesser for their weakness, things that aren't as strong.
It does sound a very bespoke system when you describe it like that. And I'm down for it. But it does mean a heck of a lot more investment in teaching staff and that kind of stuff. And again, I'm down for that as well. This government's not going to do that. But then again, but then again, no government's done that.
No.
We can't look to the last Labor government and go, oh, look, all those teacher aides that got let go, hundreds per school. No one's done that. And it's one of those unfortunate things when you live in a society that you need to make a product, in this case it's education, that does as well as it can for the most number of people, knowing that some will slip through the gap. And then what do you have to catch those slipping through the gap? I don't know if there's an answer, but we'll keep going on this tonight because I wanted to play you this clip for sure tonight because it's one of those moments where I don't think it's a distancing herself from the current cabinet, but she says what I will say, and then she picks up that she said it. And she goes, oh, I hate that. And Jack's like, I wonder where that came from. And we know where it came from. It came from Luxon. And I'm going to say inadvertently, it would have to be very calculating not to be, she kind of sticks the oar in to Luxon by saying, I hate that. Who would say that sort of thing as a part of this conversation? And in general, this is around the curriculum and also teachers' pay changes. And they were offered 1% in a time where inflation's about 2.3%.
You're asking teachers to introduce a whole new curriculum, which has been delayed and at times has been subject to confusion. And now a whole new qualification. You yourself just talked about the washing machine of change over the last few years. Annual inflation is at 2.7%. On top of the regular pay advancements that teachers receive, you've just offered them a 1% annual pay increase. Do you think that reflects the complexity of the work they have ahead of them?
Look, firstly, you know very well that we are in the middle of collective bargaining and it's not something that I can talk about. However, what I will say is that, God, I hate that phrase, what I will say. What's important to note, Jack, is that I don't know, but I shouldn't say it. What is
I mean,
yeah, she was having fun there.
I mean, Anyway, we'll get back to the point.
Really important to note is that not all investment comes through a collective bargaining process. Not all change comes through a collective bargaining process, and nor should it. Every single budget, I have listened to teachers. They said to me, one of our biggest challenge is around conditions. We've got a huge challenge with learning support. We've got children that we are unable to get off a waiting list and get the support they need. I surged in $750 million, the largest investment in a generation of learning support. They said they wanted learning support coordinators. Every school's getting one. They said they wanted more teacher aid hours. I'm delivering
I can tell you, they say they want more than 1% a year.
Well, like I say, we're in the middle of bargaining. I'm not going to talk about that, but it's important to look at everything else that's been surged in around conditions to make teachers have all the tools they need to do their job.
So what I hear her saying on some level, and I'm not trying to be generous to her because I wonder about this conversation. If she goes, okay, so I've got an extra $1 billion that I can put where I want. I could give that to the teachers in their pay, or I could provide a whole bunch of the things that they're asking for. I can't do both. Now, she hasn't said that. I'm not giving her grace for that. But I wonder if you said to teachers, do you want all these positions filled? We've only got so much budget. Or do you want the pay increase? Which way they would go. Now, in saying all of that, you know my stand on government budgets. A government budget is the amount that the government decides to give that department. It could be $1 billion more, it could be $1 billion less, it could be $3 billion more. It's just a number that they make up. So if it doesn't hit targets, they could increase the targets if they wanted to. But it seems like she was saying in that she's trying to improve the conditions, whilst the teachers are also saying improve our pay. So again, it was interesting. No huge pushback from Jack. She answered the question. Might not like the answer, but she answered the question, which is unusual for a national minister on Q&A.
Yeah, no, it is actually. I do love the fact though. It seems like she was that was definitely a slip.
Yeah, I wonder if she caught herself and she just went, I'm going to go with it. Or she didn't realise till afterwards that she was like, oh, I think I just shot down the boss.
Nah, to me, she had more of a, you know what, fuck it. I mean, why wouldn't she though? With the way that he lets David talk about him, the way he lets Winston talk about him, he hasn't set a precedent for anyone to respect him in his own coalition, let alone the general public.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, Chewie wanted to say as well, parents don't get it is a terrible reason to upend a sentence.
Yes. I mean, the difficult thing is we haven't really been told what this is. Your classic national government. We're going to get rid of the ferries. What are we going to have in their place? You'll find out. We haven't done it yet. You know, we're going to get rid of NCEA. What's going to be in its place? Well, a better system. Can we see the system? Well, consultation. It'll be in by January. It's like I'm very uncomfortable with cancelling anything without already having the reply, unless of course a government could do this, right? I'm not saying these guys would, but we're going to cancel it. And through that consultation, they realize we're not ready to cancel it. So we'll roll another year, not change anything, and then try and do it by, like if they gave themselves, if they realize they couldn't get the answers or the system set up by the time they think they can, and I don't think they can, 4 months to get it off the ground for year 9s. I don't think so. Then they go, okay, well, we'll look at it for 2027. Like that would be a wise, mature way to say we are going to change it and we're going to find the best system. I'd be okay with that conceptually. I'm not saying that I'd be okay with the changes because we need to see the changes and understand what they are. So we'll see. And it's horrible sitting here as a kind of commentator going, we'll see when they come out, when by the time they come out, it's then too late to comment on them because they're implementing them. So we're kind of stuck with, and that comes back to that. I don't trust these guys. No. I'm not trusting of them. So I'm not trusting that this is going to be the better system they're promising when they can't show us today what that system is. So we're stuck. We're stuck with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that they're bad faith.
Okay, let's have another little clip. We'll get through a couple more of these because I also want to show this thing. I don't know why, but it does, and I don't want to belabor this point, but how Erica Stanford seems to not be on board. I've written in my notes, she's not on board. They're talking about pay equity here, and she makes it very clear to distance herself from that decision. She's a part of it. She voted for it. Let's not get it twisted, but making it very clear it's about the cabinet. It's not about her. And she might be doing that to save face in this moment. She might also be doing that because she disagrees with it. And I wonder where where she actually sits on. It's a bit like, you know, Judith Collins is the worst example of this year when she comes out and she says, this is in breach of the Bill of Rights, this decision that the government wants to do, and then she voted for it the next day. So as the Attorney General, she says, this is a breach of our rights, and then as an MP, she voted for it the next day. So, you know, you can also be a dishonest actor in this, and she could be being a dishonest actor right here about distancing herself from it. But when you line up the 3 or 4 things I'm going to play, it does just feel like she's not a 2025 style national MP. She's one of John Key's crew. When people say they're not your dad's political party, national party.
Under the changes passed under urgency by your government, primary school teachers now face an extremely difficult pay equity progress. Secondary school teachers have had to totally cancel their pay equity claim. Is that fair?
Look, Cabinet came to a decision, and it was a collective Cabinet decision, and we had to draw the line somewhere. And there are always people who are going to be above the line and people who are going to be below the line. And whether or not the teachers' claims would have progressed under the old system is hard to know. There are many different things that they need to meet. And the same now. I mean, they're free to bring a claim. They should bring a claim and they will be assessed on their merits.
And who should they, I mean, I've asked this to the Minister responsible, who should they compare themselves with? Because under the new framework, it's almost impossible to see anyone comparable that teachers will be able to compare themselves with. Secondary school teachers have had to totally cancel their pay equity claim because of the change from 60 to 70%.
So just so we're clear on that, secondary schools, part of the pay equity claim used to be that 60% of the employees historically and accurately are female, and they lifted that to 70%. And so secondary school teachers no longer fit the criteria, so they can't have an equity claim. So that's pretty heinous.
My question for you though is it fair?
Well, the question before was it fair with the comparators we had then? And no doubt you've talked to the Minister responsible for this, as you've already said, and those are questions for her. But we are trying to make the system fairer, more transparent, and make sure that we can continue.
That was an interesting look from Jack Tame when she said trying to make it fair. Look at that look again.
Make the system fairer, more transparent, and make sure that we can continue to honour those into the future. And so that's why the settings were put in place. Cabinet made that decision.
So listen, I can see it in the chat. People are basically just saying she's a coward. Totally possible. I totally can see that's a possibility. In other words, she basically won't stand on her own morals and defend a bad decision. Completely could. I'm not suggesting I have the answer. I'm just going to roll into the next one though, Magenta, because it's about school charters, charter schools. And again, it's just this, she's not on board. She basically says in this, I'm paraphrasing, but I don't want charter schools to succeed. I want the public system to succeed, so no one wants to be a charter school, which is in complete contradiction to David Seymour, right? It's a pretty strong stance to go, we don't need charter schools if we get public schooling right.
Yeah.
In last year's budget, the government allocated funding for 10 brand new charter schools and for 35 state schools to convert to charter schools by the end of next year. There have been dozens of applications for new charter schools, but so far no state schools have converted, and the Charter School Agency confirmed this week they're currently considering just 4 formal applications for conversions to open in term 1 of next year. So, Erica Stanford, funding for 35, formal applications for just 4 conversions for term 1 next year. Why?
Well, look, that's a question you're going to need to put to Minister Seymour. As you know, he's the Minister responsible for charter schools.
Now, this is cowardice. I acknowledge this is cowardice because she's ultimately responsible. So, yes, this is cowardice. This is her running away. And she does this a fair bit as well. So yeah. No rose-tinted glasses here, just pondering out loud.
You are the Minister for Education, and having read the Cabinet Manual, I'm sure you will know that ultimate responsibility lies with you. So why don't...
read the Cabinet Manual, yes. Look, you're right. Look, essentially it is his area of responsibility. However, I mean, this is the tension in the system, right? You put something different in, And it's supposed to make me go, actually, we need to up our game so we don't have people leaving and wanting to convert to charter schools. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't want schools to leave and become charter schools. That's why transformational change, a new qualifications framework, structured literacy, all of the resources and professional learning and development. That's the tension in the system, which it's the rising tide, right? All boats.
So you're saying that because you're doing your job well, more schools don't want to convert into the charter schools that your Associate Minister supports?
And David and I had this conversation early on when we talked about charter schools and converting schools. And even he said to me, that's the point. Because at the moment, what is there to hold?
Is that what he said?
Yeah. Well, he did say to me, he said, this is the inherent tension in the system. Yeah. Because otherwise, who holds the system to account?
So in the late...
So, and Tana, whose comment I just put up there, they do talk later on about, and that money will go back in. Because the question gets asked, all that money getting spent on charter schools, if we want them to fail, that's not what she said, but to be, maybe that money should have gone into the public setting. And she says, well, that will be re-released back into the public setting. I've got one more clip to play, Magenta, but I don't want to cut you short again. Any ideas around the whole pay equity charter schools you want to jump on?
Well, I mean, the comment she made about the, obviously, I don't want charter schools, that's why I want to do the structured literacy and numeracy. And the structured literacy is the reason that I'm sure you saw the headline about how one of the children's books is not being put into reproduction because it features 6 whole words in Te Reo Māori versus the 3 that is a normal standard. There are also words that I would consider to be extremely elementary, like most people have heard them by the time they're 5.
Do you know something really interesting? I heard you guys talking about that on Friday night. I tuned in. I was a lurker. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm on board. 6 words. How ridiculous is that? We didn't play it because we can't play everything. They talk about it in this interview. She has an answer for it. She has an answer about learning and about the way vowels are sounded. And you're talking about when 5-year-olds are being taught to read. And how it's a different way of doing it. Again, I'm not suggesting that we like the answer. I am suggesting,
but at least there is technically one.
She gave an answer. Now I'm not backing her answer. I agree with you. I'm on board with you. But it was interesting to see, because it's very, very rare a national minister have answers in these things.
Absolutely.
Like I could even understand conceptually what she was saying. Again, I disagree, but that's why this feels a bit like a national minister from a bygone era. They are about, now again, please let me please don't shoot me. Don't shoot the messenger, right? Because I'm not saying we're on board, obviously. Yeah. But she does have answers to the questions. She does speak to the experts. I'll tell you something. Willow Jean Prime ballsed it up massively last week.
Oh, did she?
Because she got an email from Erica Stanford to be bipartisan in these choices. She ignored it. That came out last week. So Chewie wasn't here. I did a bit, I think, with Clint last week where I was like, Luxon said, I'm not going to take advice on education from a Green MP. And we went, hang on, why wouldn't you want to be bipartisan in this? And then the next day, there's a news report that Willow Jean Prime received an invitation from Erica Stanford to be involved in these conversations, and she never answered the email. So there was a bipartisan approach made. But what I wonder, and this is why I'm going to go back to, it feels a little bit like Erica Stanford might be a national minister from days gone by. I don't think that's the National Party policy. I don't think the National Party are reaching across the aisle, but it seems Erica Stanford did. And it just, again, I'm not voting for her. I'm not advising her. I'm not doing any of those things. It just feels slightly different from the others. And that was a huge balls up. Because listen, the other thing is, because now let's get back to the PR spin. What National can do is go, we tried to reach across the aisle. We had Christopher Hipkins on this show and him say that the national version of bipartisanship is turning up to the national offices and going, agree with what we want.
Yeah.
Now, that might have happened, but because Willow Jean Prime didn't get involved, Nationals got the we tried. What are you talking about? We tried. And so it's a ball drop. And just on that, I'm going to play this last bit because it's only 40 seconds about her feeling like it's slightly different. I know Chewie's going to think I've got a crush and stuff, but I'm just being honest. Because this is another moment, it's only 40 seconds, where she will not commit to national or government policy and government spending, right? And I just think, I've said again, I've written down here, she's not on board. And she gets asked straight out and she refuses to answer it twice. And it doesn't come across to me like her avoiding it. It comes across to me like she doesn't want to have to agree with it. She disagrees with it. Have a listen.
The average salary in the charter school agency is now more than $140,000, not including the CEO. The establishment budget for the agency is $10 million. Do you think that represents good value for money?
Well, again, those are questions for Minister Seymour. You should get him on the show. And
we do, don't worry.
Excellent.
But I mean, you're the Education Minister. The cabinet manual is very clear.
Got my hands full at the moment with massive transformational change, structured literacy, structured maths, the new qualifications framework, and he's responsible for that area.
It's interesting that you're declining the opportunity to confirm that represents good value for money. The Ministry for Education has...
Put words in my mouth.
Oh, well, yeah, please take this opportunity then. Is it good value for money?
You'll have to ask David Seymour.
The Ministry for Education...
That's, direct question twice. She wouldn't answer it. Now, again, is that running away? Is that cowardice? It just feels like a distancing to me. It's just how I'm seeing that conversation. Tell me where I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong.
Well, the thing is, I think there's one thing to, it definitely, I could say it appears that there is some form of distance that she's creating in this coalition. But I think the first thing I'm really thinking is that, yes, she may be akin to more of a John Key's national, but I don't think that's good either.
No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I agree.
For me,
I'm not saying that like it's a yay, you should be on John Key's. I'm just saying it's not what these guys are. It's not what the current guys are.
Yeah, because as Gary has said here, Stanford won the least stinky MP competition.
Yeah.
Not the same as being popular.
What is it? The skinniest kid at fat camp, the shortest kid at tall camp, whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. And so, she's definitely been one of the better ones, and I think it does seem like maybe she is trying to position herself to be, if you're thinking of John Key when you see Erica Stanford, you're thinking of a prime minister, so maybe she's trying to kind of.
And look, I should probably pull that back before I get too slammed. It's just that when I was watching it in the weekend, it's just that idea of this isn't your dad's national party, right? It's as simple as that, and I think the way she comes across and how she speaks and how she works, she is more in the mold of a minister that would have been in your dad's national party. Now, I didn't vote for your dad's national party either. Let's make that very clear. But I think it's interesting that if what I'm saying is true, and it might not be, it could just be that she's a coward and she refuses to answer, that there are still people in there that maybe aren't as extreme and that maybe wouldn't allow people like Winston and Seymour to get away with what they're getting away with, would they be the leader? Because what's happening at the moment is the far right is driving this country based on a feckless leadership model. If there are some MPs in that world that adhere to a yesterday's version of politics, I don't want them to be the next government, but if they are, and if those are the leaders in place, I guess I just hope that they do less damage than allowing these two right-wing lunatics to run the country from a place of minority.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like saying, if I'm going to get beaten up by the bully, I hope it's the weakest, smallest bully that doesn't hit me quite as hard, which feels a bit dismissive and a bit loose, but wouldn't we rather get kicked in the knees by a little kid than punched in the face by a big one, if we had to be?
I mean, yeah, I think, though, what it makes me think too, though, is that Chloe, in her interview with, was it Mihi Ngarangi Forbes, and she mentioned the fact that she has talked to people on the opposite side of the house and how some of them are kind of, not happy with what's going on. But I think she kind of put it the most plain way that I think I can kind of really sum it up is, if you're unable to vote and make changes in the party that align with your values, what the fuck is the point of your job? What are you doing? You're just filling up a seat and taking a very, very nice salary that they get 2% increases on each year, not 1%, 2%. And I think, yeah, for me, it's just, does it really matter if she's the better one out of all of them if it's still a pile of shit? Because I don't want to eat that. Even if she's a small spoon of shit.
Yeah, but I actually agree with you, right? And this is maybe where I have to be careful. I can look at this as a political conversation and a political game and how the game of politics is played and go, would I rather have Erica Stanford as the leader of the National Party? Would they be in power next year, or Christopher Luxon? And I think I'd rather have Erica Stanford. I'd rather have none of them. But we don't get to play the ideological game as them bad, so therefore them never going to get in. Them bad, and they're going to get in sometimes. And sometimes it's about mitigating harm as much as you can. Sometimes it is about being the skinniest kid at fat camp. Sometimes it is about the other guys being in and trying to mitigate as much as we can, as bad as it can be. That's just the world we live in. Does it mean that I'm saying Nats are okay or Erica's okay? No. It's me saying that she reminds me more of a... it's like, would we rather have George W. Bush, who was a horrific warmonger, as president, or Donald Trump? Careful, because if you say George W. Bush, are you saying he was okay? No, but there's a difference. In the real world, outside of ideologies of them always bad, we always good, there's a real world of also, I want to protect our most vulnerable. Do I think Erica Stanford as Prime Minister would protect our more vulnerable than, what's his name? Luxon, I can't remember his name. on the evidence I have in front of me right now, I'd probably say, might all be a show. I might have been taken in. I'm not a supporter of hers. I'm not voting for her. I'm not going to give her advice. The real world we live in, sometimes you have to pick the worst or the best of a worst case scenario. And that's what I'm saying. I think if we had to pick the worst of a bad case scenario, maybe that would be a better worse than what we've got now. Doesn't mean I'm supporting it. Doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean I like it. I'm just a realist. What are we going to do if National gets in next time? Go, man. Go.
If Erica would be a better leader for the National Party, would we really want her to be the leader for the next election? Because she might actually win for that party. I mean, Jacinda Ardern was, put in last minute and that won the thing. So maybe we don't want her in there because she could appeal to more people.
Yeah, but I'm not even saying I want her. I'm just saying I think she will be. And I think if she was, it would be... she would be for want of a better word, a smaller bully rather. And actually maybe... Put it this way, forget names. Would we rather have a better leader who is a better pure leader that can lead than have a feckless, spineless leader getting driven around by the alt-right currently and having absolutely no spine to say no to anything? I mean, which would be better?
I mean, even though we're not using names, I don't know if I see her as strong, as someone who would be strong and hold her own against them. I mean, in the position she's currently in, where she's kind of more colleagues with them, she could be like, oh, talk to David or but I don't know if in a leadership position, if she would be assertive.
And look, to be fair, right, to shoot my own argument down, there were many of us, and I was one of them, I think probably Chewie was who were looking at Nicola Willis pre-election going, she's a better leader than Luxon. But then post-election, we all changed our mind on how terrible she is in an elected leader. Could be the same. I mean, it's, the observations are based around what I'm seeing today, what I'm hearing today from people outside the show who are more involved in the world of politics, and that might all change. Look, here's the answer. How about the left win the next election?
Absolutely.
We don't have to worry about this conversation.
No, absolutely. And that's why at the AGM, like a lot of what they talked about is that as a left, we need to organize. Like, that's why I'm going to be annoying and remind people to volunteer, because it doesn't matter if you could just, I don't know, bake some cookies for the people who are going around and knocking on doors once every couple of months. That's help. Whether it's sharing posts and talking to family members, that's help, because we need, like, the Green MPs can only do so much in the position they're currently in, and they rely on us to help kind of push them forward and help kind of get there, because we all know we don't have the money on our side.
Yeah.
Like, they managed to raise a good amount of money at the AGM this weekend, and it was awesome. But when we're getting excited over $27,000, when National Party would go, oh, that's nice, dear. Thank you for your little donation.
Yeah.
You know, it's a harder fight on this side. So
yeah. And look, I mean, it appears that there's some people annoyed with me in the chat. Oh well.
I
Look,
mean,
no offense. We're allowed to have robust conversations, as I've just said. The way to make this conversation null and void is to vote for the left, and you won't have to worry about it. I think Luxon will be going into the next election no matter what.
Well,
I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think they're rolling him or moving or anything like that. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And even if I'm wrong, whānau, I'm allowed to be wrong. That's fine.
Yeah. And then you guys can all bully him about it later on online. It'll be fine.
Let's get to some of these super chats and stuff, and then let's head off for the night and chats in general. Brother Monk says, "Do you think Bish would be a?" Oh, careful, Brother Monk. We can't talk too much about future leaderships. It's a bad thing in the chat at the moment. I think that Bish's connections to the smoking lobby could be a problem. I really do. I think that it makes him for a leader of the National Party, it makes him a bit of a pit bull and a good person to run around, a bit of a Trevor Mallard. But I don't know if he would be, maybe even a deputy, but I don't know personally. Any thoughts on that, Magenta?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I think Bish kind of just seems more like a joke. He kind of, I don't know. He seems a little meh, bland, kind of middle of the road. There's nothing that exciting about him.
All right. Yeah, it's fair. Gareth says, Chewie, you're sicky. There is much mucus. Sounds like a Ferris Chula's day off. No, I see what you did there. Ferris Chula. Over Red Rover said, I saw that gesture. That might have been me. Oh, speaking of Chewie, as an ADD haver, I was a student that was terrible and ongoing projects and assessments, but would crush exams. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, all right.
Like,
I would have thought with ADD it was the other way around. But so doing a situation like doing an assessment on the day in that minute easier than like something to be handed in a month.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with a lot of the time for people who have ADD and ADHD, the longer you have, the less important your brain thinks it is. It's not until the night before that your brain goes, hey, you know, all that motivation you couldn't find to do the thing, here it is, and go. And like, that is a very common trait in people with ADHD. Yeah. So, yeah.
Lucci says, Nats should support Stanford Collapse Coalition, call snap election in the honeymoon. It's honeymoon. There's another chat that comes in later on. Rupert, apparently she didn't reply. Who's she? Who are we talking about? Because she wants
Oh, this was Willow Jean Prime.
Parties. Oh, right, interested parties first.
Yes.
So she balls it up, but it was a mistake, not intentional. Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, Grace, we all make mistakes. Apparently I've made one tonight. But the reality is it is a balls up, and it unfortunately gives National the opportunity to play we tried to be partisan. They didn't want to participate sort of card, which sucks because, you know, as far as we know, listening to Chippy, who told us this, that they're pretty disingenuous with their bipartisanship, and they just want the left to agree with them and call it bipartisanship. That's obviously not bipartisan.
Yeah.
All right, and one more crack at me from Kiwi Scoot. Be careful, Pat. People will listen to you and you're telling them Erica is okay. Yeah, no, I don't think I did that. I don't want anyone thinking any Nat is okay. Do you think I said that Erica was okay? I'm okay if people think that, like, if I've made a mistake. I can do it clearly again, that I think John Key's government damaged this country exponentially. They brought in some stuff into education, which then this current National lot got to blame Labor for, national standards. I think that there was damage made and debt accrued horribly under them. I can say all of that and still say I think Erica Stanford is a style of politician that fits better in that political system than this one. So I think it's a commentary on good. It's a commentary on I don't recognise at the moment the style of politics today.
Her
suiting
vibe
this
is very
politician.
different
Yeah,
to the vibe
totally.
the rest of them are giving. I can totally get that.
Totally. And that's all the super chats. Oh, we'll do this one. Thank you. That was honeymoon. Lurchy. Put it through. Cool, man. Is there anything you want to wrap up with? Anything you want to?
Actually, there is something I wouldn't mind putting in front of the people's eyes real quickly. So there, if you, can I add it to stage, or is it not going to let me? Because
While you're doing that, I'll just do one more comment here. There's a difference between endorsing someone for national leader and saying, I think they will be national leader. If at the next election I say, I think National's going to win this election, it's not an endorsement for National to win an election. It's me going, my opinion is that I think their numbers will win. So yeah, it might be a slight miscommunication. And look, I'll take responsibility if the crosswires come from me. No problems at all. But observing that you think this is going to happen is not necessarily the same as saying, I want this to happen.
So if everyone, this is the greens.org.nz/get_involved. They have a lot of really important stuff on here right now. They've just launched a petition to restore Māori place names, since they've renamed our electorate to Wellington Bays or something. There's also the Employment Relations Act Amendment Bill. They've got a great submission guide on there. They also have a petition to help stop growing the homelessness. But this one down here, the Have Your Say on the Pie Order Healthy Futures Amendment Bill. It was brought to my attention today that there is a part of this bill that would explicitly prevent public servants, including doctors and nurses, like Dr. Gary Pienda, from criticizing the government.
Yeah.
And so that is obviously fucking horrible, really bad. I would encourage everyone to go over, have a look at this, and please submit. I believe it's closing soon. I don't know the date on me right now. And yeah, just go there, check out everything that's on there. They've got a lot of great petitions, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the exact URL, but they will be releasing a website where people will be able to find green
So that's not
MPs in the area.
that's not a public domain at the moment, is what you're saying?
I don't know. It's something that I saw that they were showing us about. They're building a tool. Yeah, so that should hopefully help with local body elections, since that's
Can you scroll up? Can you put that back up and scroll up
yeah.
to the photo? Because Kiwi Bird wanted us all to look at the Wellington Bays.
That is
Has it
the
gone
top.
away?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. Yes, this photo here. I'm assuming they mean
the Wellington Bays. I only have to bring that back up because then we've also got Kiwi Bird saying Wellington Bays, not Wellington Bays.
You know what?
So
I'm done.
we had to have the
that.
setup and then the payoff for that joke.
I love
that's
it.
why we had to do it together.
Great.
All right. Thank you for jumping in tonight.
No worries. It's
Hope you had fun. I know we're kind of boring Monday to Thursday. I know it's nothing like your fun frivoluses. Oh, we catch up after the show. I've got some things I want to tell you about as well. Off here.
Secrets,
Off here.
family.
Yeah.
Secrets, Fano.
Secrets. Oh gosh. Messages. We have got. I've put a request in for Chloe this week. I've been told I put a request in for Chloe tonight. And I got told she wasn't available, and then I said, "Well, another night for the week." So we'll see how that pans out, Fano. If you're watching Green Party, I've got your eye on you. Come and say hello. It's about time, especially after this weekend. Also, there was a really interesting piece done by Paul Barlow, Paul the other one, on what Treasury said last week. And he's saying that Treasury said some quite positive things about the COVID response. On the same day, Mike Hosking said the Treasury report is the reason that National will win the next election. So they seem to be saying opposite things. And I had a chat with Paul over the weekend and said maybe we'll get him on to explain out what he's seeing and versus what Mike Hosking's, not that we're a Mike Hosking FM, we had him tonight, didn't we? But it was an interesting perspective. So we might try and get Paul on this week as well. And just before we go, many people want to know all about your hat.
Oh.
So is there anything to say?
What about it?
I
got it from like a cheap, I got it from what I would call my old school emo $2 shop that sells just random knickknacks. So
did that cost $2? Or is it one of those $2 shops that sells things for $6?
shop, like, yeah. I mean, no, when the $2 shop died, it was the $2 and $5 shop.
Oh.
Yeah. But yes, thank you, Whānau. I thought I'd try to change it up since I always got to have a hat if I'm on the Monday to Thursday show. It's part of the uniform, right?
Yeah. And speaking of hats, I'm actually talking to a company at the moment about getting some embroidered caps and beanies. I know we tried these beanies. And
oh, yes. I remember seeing a sample.
I got some. But yeah, they're just basically it's just a print on it, and which means that they're not. I mean, if I pulled probably hard, they'd probably rip, sort of thing. And if we're going to have them, we want to have them embroidered. So possibly tomorrow I'll be talking to a group about that, and we've got some people working on mugs, and we've got some people working on enamel pins. So we'll keep you all up to date. And speaking of, you could have a look at the new website, bhn.nz. And that is being updated at the moment. It's not in the final rollout stage yet, but it's getting more stuff on there every single day. So if you want to check it out, bhn.nz. All right, Magenta, I think that's us. Are you all? Yes. Are you good? Are you happy? I'm
good and happy.
Good to rock and roll. All right.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Let's do this.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
That's it for me. Get well out there, little Wookie, if you're still watching. Wrap up warm. Have a hot toddy. I don't even know what a hot toddy is. You know what a hot toddy is? People in the olden days used to say, give yourself a hot toddy. It sounds...
Isn't it like hot apple cider? It's alcohol, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Chewie will be down for that.
Or port,
go
maybe?
get yourself a hot toddy, Chewie, and we might see you one of these other nights this week. Anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, actually, I
Magenta?
just got reminded on Friday where the sound wasn't working, and the whānau was saying maybe we need a lyric video of just the song so that we can all learn the lyrics to it. And I think that could be fun. Yeah.
Oh,
so
very,
maybe
very
that's
good.
something we could do.
We'll catch you tomorrow night, team, from 9 o'clock for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Keep cool till after school.